Riot Games has created an entire universe full of lore and mystery, but they haven't given us all the answers. Welcome to the Mysteries of Runeterra, a series where I try to shed some light on the more mystical sides of Riot's written universe. In today's episode, we're talking about some of the less obvious discussions that I've come across. Did you know Shaco the Demon Jester is not a demon? What's up with Lulu eating all the Faefolk? Where is the maskmother? Has Zilean doomed the last remnants of Icathia, or will he free them? And finally, will we ever find something capable of killing Aatrox? Thank you for checking out the video. My name is Bad at this game, and I hope you're having a great day. Whether you call him Shaco or Shaco, he's one of the League of Legends' oldest characters and features the title of the Demon Jester, but is by no means a demon. See, I've actually looked into the demonology of Runeterra when I made my Fiddlesticks video, and since its release we've only received more and more content in terms of the primordial Demon King's story. So what does Shaco have to do with this? Nothing, it seems. From everything I can find, it seems that Shaco is an anomaly that exists within the League, where Riot haven't updated his champion's lore. Shaco is 13 years old as a character concept, and he still only has a paragraph to cover his entire biography, with no actual story involvement from Shaco in the Runeterra universe. How they would rework Shaco or retcon his story to be in line with the other lore of Runeterra is something I don't personally have an answer to. There's different avenues to choose from, and it's hard to imagine that Shaco can be inserted into the arc of the 10 primordial demon kings, as the region of lore has already been fairly well explored. Because he doesn't really fit into the Demon King storyline, but his original concept is the Demon Jester, it's hard to say where Riot would be able to put Shaco without retconning the concept of him being demonic. Of course, Riot could spin this in the style of Jin, where the acts of Shaco were so atrocious that the people of Runeterra assumed they were a demon, and that way Shaco could still be called the Demon Jester, but not actually be a demon. But this is all speculation until someone at Riot decides to hit go on the Shaco storyline reboot. So yeah, if you ever wonder why there's not a lot of mention of Shaco or why he didn't appear in my video looking at the demonology of Runeterra, it's because of all the reasons we've just gone over. So, Lulu is well known for a voice line that goes,
"Yup, that tasted purple."
But the voice line itself has always been a point of confusion because, well, purple is a colour, not a taste. As it turns out, purple can be considered a taste if you are eating the purple-coloured Faefolk. Within Legends of Runeterra is a card called Tasty Faefolk.
I taste purple. Yay!
And you can see featured in the artwork is a Faefolk looking somewhat casually at the bite that has been taken out of their arm. There's even an interaction to confirm that Lulu is someone who eats the Fae people.
There's my favorite munchable munchkins!
I'm unsure what kind of benefit comes from eating a creature that resembles a giant eggplant, but I'll assume it must serve some kind of purpose. The description of the tasty Faefolk is also quite humorous, as it's literally the nutrition information for a Faefolk and mimics the nutritional qualities of eggplant. In order to get a better idea of what tasty Faefolk are, here's someone who farms them. This is the Fuzzy Caretaker, another card revealed in Legends of Runeterra that can be seen planting sapling-like purple Faefolk into the grounds. The flavor text for the card provides a lot more information regarding the consumption of the purple Faefolk, stating, "The purple Faefolk are sweet little creatures, and cared for by all those who encounter them." Well, almost all. So if there's anything to take away from this tastes purple means that something tastes like eggplant? Whether or not that knowledge itself is helpful is a different discussion, but it seems pretty important to Lulu. The Maskmother was revealed in Legends of Runeterra as the creator of the masks for Lamb and Wolf, also known as the Kindred. The mystery of the maskmother only gets more confusing when you take into account that the universe story of the kindred that we received years ago actually contained the maskmother as a member of the story without it being directly stated. Other masks of death were revealed, including a god of death whose name has been all but forgotten by the minds of mortals. It was revealed through the introduction of the maskmother that the gods of death revolve within a self-maintained cycle where they are crafted a mask by the maskmother with the task to fulfill the role of death. Should the memories of mortals forget the name of the mask, for example lamb and wolf, then the mask wearers are hunted by the final entity in the cycle, the Etherfiend. New masks of death will be made, and old ones will be forgotten and hunted. We can understand the premise of the cycle, but not all the components involved. The maskmother possesses the powers of creating gods of death, but we don't know where she actually is. From the universe stories of the kindred, we know that the maskmother has visited Runeterra as they were spreading the story of the kindred in person to mortals. One could assume that the maskmother would reside in the realm of death, and much like the masks of death, will travel to the mortal realm when they see fit, but without any confirmation it's quite difficult to figure out the intentions of the maskmother. We can assume that the maskmother is ancient, because they were there when the kindred were known as the Grey Man, but we don't have a specific timeline to point towards for any idea of their origin. I can't help but wonder if they have anything to do with the mysterious group that created Runeterra during the formation of the universe. The Aspects and Celestials were interested in the mortals that appeared on Runeterra, but we never found out who made Runeterra in the first place. It's a long shot, but the maskmother is the only character we've seen so far that isn't a Celestial or an Aspect, but is ancient and involved in the deeper roots of mortality throughout Runeterra. Mortality has always been complicated, and it would make sense if one of the individuals involved in the creation of mortals is responsible for maintaining their mortality. When Icathia fell during the opening of the Void and the start of the Void War, there lived a resident within the lands that would seek to try and save as many as he could during the catastrophe. This was Zilean, who acted as one of the mages for Icathia at the time and warned against trying to weaponize the Void. During the start of the Void War, Zilean gathered as many Icathians within his tower as he could and removed the tower from time. This created an anomaly where everything sparing himself within this tower was frozen in time. So, Zilean is somewhat dedicated to bringing back the people that he unintentionally trapped inside of the anomaly. If, or when, Zilean does manage to bring back the people of Icathia that he saved, it would give Riot an opportunity to shed some light onto the region of Icathia. Shurima previously enslaved and ruled over Icathia, and it was the conflict that led to Icathia weaponizing the Void against Shurima in an act of rebellion. It's hard to tell how the people of Icathia would feel about new Shurima, or the fact that Shurima still exists at all. There's so much about Icathia that's been unexplored or underdeveloped due to the fact that Icathia City was destroyed during the actions of the Void War. The light of Icathia still burns within the stave that Jax holds, a surviving remnant of the Icathia that stood times ago. If Icathia ever rebuilt, then it would be interesting to see how the relationships between Shurima, Icathia, and Ixtal fare post-Void War. So, Zilean has a bunch of Icathians inadvertently trapped in a time-locked tower as a result of trying to save them from the Void War, but I can't seem to find him getting any closer to actually unlocking the anomaly and bringing anyone back. With some luck, maybe Riot will don Zilean with a lore update where he's able to progress his personal goal of undoing the mistake he made with the best of intentions. And as a result of that, the community may be able to see a more present version of Icathia. In my in-depth look at Aatrox, the Darkened Blade, we came to a conclusion that not only is it really hard to actually kill Aatrox, but it's hard to think of something that could kill a celestial concept in the first place. Aatrox existed as an ascended god warrior of Shurima, only to fall to the corruption of the Void during the Void War and become one of the Darkin. The Darkin, meaning the Fallen in Shuriman, then incited a war of infighting on catastrophic scales. Misha, the aspect of Twilight before Zoe, intervened, and after a gathering and ritual sacrifice of many of the Darkin, the aspect taught mortals how to seal the Darkin away inside of weapons as a means to deal with the Darkin war. Aatrox was one of the Darkin sealed into a weapon, and is trapped eternally within his own sword. His entire quest for oblivion revolves around the idea that if everything else is destroyed, that Aatrox will finally find his own end. Because of the duality of his imprisonment, that being his mortal form being bound to the sword, and his soul being merged with a now long-forgotten celestial concept, it means that there's currently nothing obvious that could free Aatrox. I previously touched on whether or not Nagake Boros would be able to release his soul if he were to fail the trials of Nagake Boros, but was hesitant to call it a solution because Aatrox doesn't seem the type to ask if he could borrow Alawi's spirit god to execute himself. With the return of Azir and Shurima, there is the potential that the celestial concept Aatrox represents could be recovered, which would be a step towards restoring or destroying the celestial concept he represents and freeing his soul, but that still leaves his mortal form imprisoned in a sword. I considered whether or not the Ether Fiend may have any relevance towards Aatrox, and from what I can gather it seems that they don't. The Ether Fiend hunts the gods of death once they have been forgotten by mortals, but Aatrox is a celestial concept and not a god of death, so despite being illegible, he's not the right target for something like the Ether Fiend. As niche as it would be for Aatrox to ascend to a god of death and finally find his end at the hands of the Ether Fiend, I don't think it's a realistic angle that Riot would take if they ever chose to expand the story of Aatrox. Overall, there seems to be things that could have the potential to free Aatrox, but there's currently no indication from Riot that he's going to be released anytime soon. So there we have it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up button and consider subscribing if you're interested in the content. I stream occasionally on Twitch, and you can find my links down below. Take care.